Hello, my name is Raymond Karchevsky, and this is coming to you from my home, here in Cave Junction, Oregon. Tonight I'd like to share with you an open letter to all police officers in our country. This is coming to you from a retired police sergeant living on pension from a California police department. Should you want to authenticate this, visit my website at arkenterprises.com. Now, for the last 9 years, since September the 5th, 2002, I have been embattled with the criminal elements found in the administrations of the Josephine County Sheriff's Office under two administrations: the judges of Josephine County, the Oregon State Police, Grants Pass Police Department, the Oregon Governor's Office under two administrations, the Department of Justice, the Attorney General's Office under two administrations, and have been kissed off by them all. I've even been to the FBI, but they wouldn't touch my case with a 10-foot pole due to the shakeup that it would have in national and state politics. It has been a shocking revelation to see such organized crime being committed by those who took an oath to defend the Constitution, but actually take a position of opposition to it, as they hide in the shadows of anonymity and become faceless terrorists who hide behind a specter of a dead organization where no one can be held responsible within the matrix of fictionalized, compartmentalized organization. These criminal tyrants threatened me with 35 to 40 years in prison as a paper terrorist. I went through 2 trials, represented myself sui juris in both, even though the courts, the judges, forced an attorney upon me to protect themselves. Even the lawyers wanted out, but the courts would not allow it. The juristic person, the defendant, whose name is spelled in all capital letters and sounds like my name, in legal terms it's called idem sonans, was convicted in both sham trials. When it came to sentencing, I refused their offer of sentencing and called their bluff. They subsequently threw me out of jail, and I have no charges hanging over the head of this living, breathing, flesh and blood, sentient, natural man. Only some fictional, dead entity created by government via birth certification and registration was convicted. How many pieces of paper have you seen lying on prison cots, serving time? That's who was convicted, not me. It may sound funny to you, but that is the insanity that you are serving through your ignorance, and are asked to sacrifice your lives for. Now, how dumb does that make you? I took an oath of office as a police officer, as did you. I'm 74 years old, and I abide by that oath to serve, protect, and follow the Constitution to this very day, long after my retirement. I am not your enemy. I am perhaps the best friend an honest cop can have. One who uses judgment instead of robotically paying rote obedience to just doing my job, enforcing policies that are set into motion and are designed to increase the power base of the policymakers of your department, your bosses, those who put you into harm's way. Under the threat of dismissal if you do not follow their rules to the letter. Tonight, January 3rd, 2012, at 6 p.m., I was stopped on a traffic stop where I met a reasonable cop wearing the uniform of the Oregon State Police. He wrote me up for driving while suspended, and private identification plates that were on my private, unregistered automobile. He told me that I did nothing wrong but for the display of the plates. Yet he did not arrest me, nor did he impound my car. He listened, took photos of the certified copies, of the court copies of the privatization of my car, which the state has no longer any interest, financial or otherwise. Now, didn't you know that when you register your car, you give your car to the state, and they own it? You just pay it off and take care of the expenses and maintenance for the state? Same with your house. The money in your bank accounts via unwitting contracts which you struck with them. Your kids through the contract of a marriage license, the three-way contract, inviting government into the relationship, and the fruits of your labor because you signed away your life by consenting to belonging to the corporation which calls itself government. Now, where does the fault lie for the events which occurred tonight? The writing me up for being suspended. It lies with Josephine County Sheriff Gil Gilbertson, who is holding his office unlawfully, and since the first of the year when he took office, he is in breach of his oath of office. He and the DMV share responsibility for the events of tonight, for they refuse to change the false information that is contained on the NCIC police computers concerning my status regarding a driver's license or lack thereof. According to my insurance agent who ran a check with the main insurance company, the DMV changed my status, but they did not go further and advise the computer people of the NCIC as to the change. Neither did Sheriff Gilbertson, who once again shirked his duty, as he was deliberately instructed to do so under affidavit. Hence the cop on the street acts upon the information gained through the computer, and he must obey the restrictions and the duties that are imposed upon him by the department policies. Here's how it went down. You can verify the details of my 9-year battle with the Oregon law enforcement agencies. I have no driver's license. I rescinded it in 1999 on the basis of having been enticed into an invalid contract based on a lack of full disclosure of all terms not made by the government at the time of application for the license. It was the day that I woke up to true law and the freedom of life which is not bound by adhesion contracts that are struck under force and coercion. You and me. The enforcement officer are the force, while the coercion is the concept that all who drive must have a license, insurance, and registration, when in fact it only applies to commercial activities by those who use the public roadways for a living. It does not apply to the activities of the average road traveler going about his or her way in his private travel. Admittedly, those who are 14th Amendment citizens and or give their consent or contract to their own subjugation to the fictional corporate entity that is not true government, but is merely a thought-based concept created by we the people, who are the true government. The living, breathing, flesh and blood, sentient, natural men and women. There is an old standing law that is being deliberately ignored by the criminal element of the corporate policymakers. It's titled Cruden versus Neal. The law states there, every man is independent of all laws except those which are prescribed by nature. He is not bound by any institutions that are formed by his fellow men without his consent. That law trumps the policies that you all have been purposely trained to enforce via your present state of ignorance. You are employed to serve and protect, not to exploit and tyrannize those who pay your salaries. Many of you have been corrupted by such corporate training. I used to be the training officer for my department, Pacifica Police Department in Pacifica, California, and used to tell incoming rookies to examine their own present state of mind upon entry into law enforcement as to who they are and what they are doing as a police officer. Then after 6 months on the job, to re-examine themselves and see how they have changed, how they feel now about what they are doing. For most it was a 180-degree shift in consciousness. Suddenly it was us and them. Cops began to see themselves as the good guys, and the civilians, the public, were the creeps. That's what the public, the police officers felt about the public. That was the mindset that took over the consciousness of most of the people who go along to get along. Of course, my training of these rookies was in direct conflict and not appreciated by the policymakers of the department. Needless to say, it hastened my retirement. Most cops who read this won't give a damn about what I am saying, because they have become enslaved to their jobs and won't risk losing it or their retirement. So you may ask, what the hell is the purpose of all this communication? Quite simply, it's this. Most of you have sold your souls to the company store. You've lost your balance, and the reasons for your entering law enforcement are now clouded by fear, uncertainty, and you are being put into harm's way on a daily basis by your own leadership. You separated yourself from the people you have sworn to protect, and now you are trained only to trust your own, other cops. Now you're scared. You're performing your jobs while in a fog of fear and distrust. What is one of the first questions that you ask one a routine traffic stop. Is it not, do you have any guns in the car? That's a result of your training, and that's the source of your primary fear, which dogs you at every step while on the job. That fear is going to eat you up if you stay long enough in law enforcement, or it will turn you into an insensitive brute, capable of incurring great harm to others, including death. I put you into a flight or fight stance. And hell, you're the cop. You can't flee and still hold your job. If I've caught your attention, take a good long, hard look at my hellish experiences while dealing with the cops of Josephine County, Oregon. Check the website listed above, mentioned above. You'll see that I have exhausted every possible, conceivable avenue of redress, purportedly open to anyone with a grievance. The government's tactic is that of stonewalling. They will not utter a single word, otherwise they risk indicting themselves. The result of such stonewalling has left many Oregon and Josephine County administrators in commercial default to the tune of millions of taxpayers' dollars. That is why they refuse to follow the law and are conducting a cover-up for Sheriff Gilbertson's violation of his oath of office. If that is not a criminal enterprise, nothing is. Do not kid yourselves. Your purpose in the system is to fuel the fires which will ultimately destroy the thin blue line. You are cannon fodder. You are expendable to the heartless policymakers who are not on the street doing what they tell you to do. They put you into harm's way. The only power that you have is the power of the gun, the taser, the mace, the baton, which you possess. But if another possesses it, who is not a cop, is declared a crime. Now, such crime is based only in words. Every man has a right to self-defense. That is God's law, not the law of the tyrant. You have the edge only in that respect, and that is merely an illusion that you presently harbor in your consciousness. When one is blocked at every turn in following all the avenues for redress that is open to him, and he continues to be kidnapped, robbed, held hostage at every traffic stop, they will arm themselves ultimately, and countless cops are going to be shot, because civilized man has been pushed to his limits through lies and deceptions. This is when you will have to face the fact that your edge will be lost. You must consider whether the job that you are holding is now worth it to you and to your family. I often point to the movie Open Range, which starring Robert Duvall and Kevin Costner. It goes to the question of real law, sovereignty, and its application over corrupt, privately controlled corporate interests. There you will be introduced to the essence of a true man, standing up to freedom and sovereignty. That film ought to be shown in every police department in the nation, but it won't. I hope that I have caused you to look at yourselves and examine the turn that your lives have taken. For those of you who resonate with this message, I suggest you make a copy of it and send it to your chiefs of police, your sheriffs, your street cops. This could very well be the way to ignite a peaceful revolution and disarm the present tyranny by policy-making government officials.